for the guys, and I know some of the guys I tried out the first time, I won't even mention one in particular that really disappointed, but I can't wrap my head around that, and that's when I start saying to myself, the business is really working the boys, today, and I could see guys go to these camps want to get Ring of Honor and stuff, but to try out to get on the shows of a promotion,
to try out to get on a local indie show.
Yeah,
to try out to get on a local indie show is stupid.
And the reason that that there's so many guys out there that don't belong in wrestling, they'll pay to do it because they're just desperate, But
now,
like,
also,
I can see the seminars and everything, but
in the past couple of months, how many new promotions have popped up?
Oh,
I don't
man.
understand it. Guys aren't getting booked, so they say, let me run a show. I'll get my friends. I mean, why don't they just leave it to the guys that have been doing it? Leave it to the experienced people. Leave it to the real promotions. And just, if they're not going to get booked, just be a fan. I mean, I see now we got, listen, at the one place they had a fan actually have a fans battle royal, okay? And I know we did that too, but we also had real wrestlers in the ring with them, okay? But now you got a guy, now he's going to do it and pay. I don't blame the guy running the building. He needs to pay his rent, so he's renting to anybody. I see he's got like 4 or 5 promotions now going to be using his building. But don't rent it to a guy, that's wrestling outside in the backyard. And because you know what that's going to do? Somebody might see that advertised, go to it, and they're going to this is crappy. And then when they see wrestling advertised in that building, they're going to assume it's them, the backyard group.
Oh, that's
what happens when too many wrestling shows run, too many promotions run in one building, Just like at the Shikara factory, they're doing that. They got like 5 promotions running there. I mean, you got a guy now coming from Virginia to run a show there, which I'm shocked at, and he's a really nice guy, but, I mean, is he going to draw there? I doubt it. Only because, there's so much wrestling going on in the building, everybody could go to a wrestling show every week in that building now.
Okay, we're back, and we're glad to have Chad Minnis back with us. Chad, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. What's up, everybody?
So we just listened to that the clip from the Boss's Chair podcast, which whatever. These wrestling companies. First of all, wrestling companies I don't think should have podcasts because you should be doing all your speaking and all your promoting at your shows. That's the whole purpose. So going on a podcast as a promoter and shitting on everybody else just because you're unhappy is pretty much not the smartest business decision. And workers hear this and they don't want to be associated with you. So this was a bad idea from the beginning with him, but this is his company. He's that type of guy that says, this company's been around for 51 years, which Mike has not been running it for 51 years. Just the brand name has been around for 51 years. And everybody knows my opinion on people who like to throw how long they've been doing something as an excuse for why they do things. Doesn't mean shit to me. So to get from the beginning, he was making excuses of why people haven't been coming to his shows, and got into, I guess you made some comments about him not running any shows during the summer, and his response was he was running a legitimate business, so he didn't have time to run during the summer. So my question to you is, why did you decide that you were going to comment about him not running in the summer, and what was your reasoning behind that?
Yeah, so first off, how this whole started with Atlantic City is I ran a show, Roll the Dice with Alberto Del Rio and Pentagon over, it's going to be almost 2 years ago now,
Right.
In Atlantic City. And right away, as soon as they announced they were going to run in Atlantic City, all his followers started saying, oh, now that you're going to run in Atlantic City, everybody else is going to run in Atlantic City. And I commented right away, and I said, just so you know, I've ran Atlantic City already. I have multiple plans in Atlantic City, and I'm going to have multiple plans in the future. So this was the beginning. And he signed at the Showboat, where I was already talking about the Claridge, Tennessee Ave Beer Hall, other locations as well. And I said, I don't mind. There's enough room. There's enough room in the marketplace for everybody to run. No problem, no issues, anything like that. So he starts running that before I even do at Showboat. And his first couple of shows, really didn't draw, because I think he's not very good at marketing and, with strategy of, planning shows.
Right.
And he moves up to the Foundation Room, which had new owners. It was a sublease from some local Atlantic City investors. And the first show was the most packed one he had. But basically, it was all the Bourbon Room people who were comping tickets to that show. And then right after that, his attendance dove down really bad. And that's when the no-show of the Boogeyman happened, and the no-show of Teddy Hart happened. And at that point, Showboat found out I was going to run at the Claridge, and they had actually asked me, while he was still running there, to come in and start running shows instead. And out of respect, I didn't put any people in rooms there. I wasn't going to run there. I respected that he had that venue.
Right.
Whether I not, I did. And then the last show he was supposed to have, he up and ran, and he canceled. And he's always a guy who says, I would never cancel shows and this and that. And, my first dealing with him to begin with was when he was the fourth or fifth promoter in Cape May to say he was going to run shows in Cape May, and I'm never going to cancel, and blah, blah, blah. And he needed a ring. So I made an agreement with him for the ring rental. And with my ring rental, I would give promoters discounts. I'm not ripping them off. I'm giving them, I'm talking several $100s, for a ring rental, which is super cheap.
Right.
And, again, just like every other promoter, he wound up canceling the show in Cape May, which he says he only moved it to his school, but he canceled the show. And the only way I found out about it was from somebody else who was helping him run the show, not even from him. So, X amount of dollars I lost without him not even telling me. And again, never said a bad word about him at that point. And now all this, Atlantic City drama started out of nowhere.
Right. Which, right off the bat, I mean, he didn't even have the respect, the professionalism, and the common courtesy to call you to tell you he wasn't running when you were renting out the ring to him. So if somebody didn't reach out to you, you probably would have showed up to that venue with the truck all ready to set up for something that wasn't going to happen.
Right, definitely.
So that's just pure unprofessionalism on his part. So right away you have a negative outlook of this guy on how he conducts business, canceling shows in Atlantic City, Cape May, handling bad business with you with the ring rental. So he could spin it whatever way. And it's funny because on the podcast, he never mentions about canceling. He just says, I didn't run in the summer. It wasn't because he didn't schedule things in the summer. He didn't run because he was canceling shows in the summer.
Yeah, so to be honest, he was kicked out of the property. I deal with the show directly. Then based on his draw, they didn't want to staff any bartenders or anybody else because they were at a liability to pay the employees. And if you're not selling enough liquor or if you're not selling enough drinks or food, you're taking a loss on bringing in an event.
Right, exactly, because the venue has to pay someone to stand there and serve food and drinks and alcohol to the customers, and if the customers aren't showing up, these employees are getting paid to stand there and do nothing.
Correct.
So, okay, that's totally understandable. Okay, so now he kind of gets into the problems that you had at Boardwalk Beatdown in August with your former partner. Now, instead of him reaching out to you or reaching out to anybody else, he decided to go on the show and shit on you with the same nonsense that the CZW people were saying. So we know where he got his info from when he said that, I heard Chad didn't pay his guys. I heard that he had a falling out with Preacher. I heard he owes people money. So this was the same nonsense that everybody else heard through CZW contacts and people. But you came on the show and you basically put it all out there of everything that happened in chronological order. And all that information was out there, but yet he still decided to say exactly the opposite on his show. So why? Like, why do you think, like, why would he even bother taking pot shots at you if, so far in this, relationship you've had with him, there's really been no bad blood other than, him not telling you that he wasn't going to run a show that he rented a ring from you? Like, where was his motivation?
Yeah, so I don't know if this is because he's had an on and off relationship with CZW as well. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if this is let's try and be buddy buddy type of thing again. I don't know if this is he ran 4 shows at Showboat, and the theater at Clarence had more people than his 4 shows combined. So I don't know if it's a jealousy thing. I don't know if it's the fact that he has been in wrestling X amount of years, and I'm super green still, and I'm still learning, but yet I'm a better promoter than he is and probably ever will be. So I don't know if it's a jealousy thing, if it's I'm buddy-buddy with CZW type of thing, but, I reviewed everything, To say somebody wasn't paid on that show is the most outlandish thing ever. Goldberg was paid in full probably a month in advance before the show, which I don't think he's ever been paid in advance like that.
Right.
My November 9th show is halfway paid in full already, from Melissa Santos to John Cruz to Joey Janelle and Penelope. Almost everybody is paid for my show already, which you don't do in this. You don't pay people in advance because sometimes they won't show up.
Right.
But
exactly.
Me, I work out of my word in an honor system.
I know. I agree. I brought in Abyss for your show. He was paid for his match. What would you say? 3 months prior?
I think 3 months prior. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. So I don't see the legitimacy of the people that didn't get paid. It just sounded more like the CZW students who were pretty much paying their dues by doing airport runs and setting up and doing things that all other students do in every other company that runs a school. They were pissed off that they didn't get anything for it, even though they didn't even pull their weight because they didn't do the mail orders, they didn't run security the way they were supposed to, they didn't handle anything they were supposed to do, but yet they wanted to get paid.
Yeah, and again, those weren't my assignments. Those were my former partner's assignments to set up the students. So whatever deal he had with them was between him and them. Right. I don't know why I would be involved with who he placed and what he did, because I had other people that would have volunteered to do it.
Yeah, I understand. And anybody who likes to bring up that fact of this guy didn't get paid. All right, my first word is, who's telling you this? Because if they're affiliated with CZW, or they're friends of people that are complaining from CZW, then you understand why it's being said. But ask any of the talent that was supposed to get paid if they got paid, and every single one has said they got paid. So, even Sue Young got paid for something that she wasn't even supposed to get paid for.
Correct.
So, I don't understand it. So, if people want to spread hearsay, at least legitimize what you're going to say. At least get the details from the source, either yourself or the workers. Now, if the workers aren't the ones complaining, then who didn't get paid? And if the students were supposed to get paid, then that was between the students and Preacher. Had nothing to do with you.
Yeah, without a doubt. Again, if somebody thinks they weren't paid, why not be public about it? Why not contact me? Why not, again, instead of the hearsay, who didn't get paid? You're talking, this event, I'll choose the real number. It was a $175,000 investment. The convention, the live show, and the dinner. $175,000 of my own money. Nobody else's. everybody got paid.
Everybody, and that, then you also got